So I made a video before that was called 20 Things I Wish I Knew Before Starting Palworld, and that was about like 50 hours into the game. Now I have about 200 hours, reached late game, everything is kind of maintenance now. So I wanted to show y'all everything that I probably have learned since then, and it came out to about 50 to 75 things. There's also been some new data that was recovered like probably 2-3 weeks ago. It was some good stuff. So I was going to make this video into like 5-10 other videos, but I feel like Early Access Palworld has ran its course for me for now, and I'm gonna have to kind of go off into other things and back to this game when it comes out from Early Access. But so I ran everything into one. So here we go. So going on to number one, back then I talked about the settings of Palworld. You can change the settings whenever you want, all that. One of the things that I do is I play on a dedicated server with my friends, and we have a hard time changing the settings in that dedicated server. But one of the biggest things I probably would change now is that we don't drop any items when we die, because there was many times that we clipped through the world and died, and we actually couldn't go and get our stuff back and this was all because the game just has a bunch of clips, so you just fall through, and it's no fault of your own. It's not the way the game is intended to be played. So not getting your items just felt really bad. So that's one thing I would change. I would also change how much ore I receive per node. So for every node that you see, you get 40 ore, and eventually that becomes extremely tedious. Maybe like 60, but I wouldn't double it to like, you know, I think you can get 120 per ore if you really wanted to, but arguably Palworld is literally ore mining. Like, this game is all about the mining of the ore. If your base isn't on an ore mine, you're doing it wrong. So if you skip ore mining, you basically are bypassing like 3/4 of the game. With that said, like it really does get tedious sometimes, so you would have to kind of play with that. But we kept it on 40 ore per node, but probably 68 would be fine. So then there's also the experience area where it's you can up to 20 times. And I feel like if you're going to do 20 times, it's probably because you're trying to get to end game as fast as possible and get everything going. But if you're trying to get like the actual Palworld experience, you probably should do the 1 to 3, maybe like 3 times, because around like 35, probably even 30, like after like level 30 to 40, you start to kind of like, it goes real slow. And it kind of feels like you have to capture like every single pal in the game. Even when I was starting to try and defeat the tower bosses for experience, the experience was really good for my pals, but for me, I was better off finding pals to capture. But it takes a long time, and it doesn't feel very good after like maybe 40. So I would say like up your experience gain by like 3 times or so. All right, so getting past the settings, I still feel like weight is still the best stat in the game. It's great early, it's great mid, it's great late. There's always an argument that having a higher weight stat will be better for you than not. Stamina and health are a good secondary, but I know Whisper's weight isn't good late game. You'll have everything you want. You will wish you put it into attack and stamina and health. You might be right for late game. End game, you will have your ore farms and everything working for you, so you may not want weight as your end all be all, but like, there is something called the memory wiping potion. So the memory wiping potion is a late game potion, and it's even late game, it's still kind of hard to make. You need like I think it's like 100 flowers and a bunch of other materials, and it takes for a long time. You can't buy flowers. You have to go around and like farm these, and I think even if you do a whole round of farming these, you still won't get enough to make one. And then even if you have like a medicine level 3 pal to make it, it takes like a full day for it to be made. But you can redo your stat points with that. So if you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't want weight, well, you don't have to keep it. You can go through the whole game using weight to get to the late game as fast as possible, and then remove your weight whenever you have everything set up, and just put it all into attack or stamina or health or whatever you want. So this is something that I did because I really like the furniture and stuff in the game, but by level 50, you will not have tech points to fill every slot. You will have to farm these tech points at the same place that you farm the flowers for the memory wiping potion. So late game, you'll just have to kind of fly around, get a bunch of these boxes. So don't just grab all the random things in your tech tree. And another thing too is the memory wipe does not wipe away your tech points. are on number 7. So speaking about tech points, some of your tech points will be used to make certain weapons, but these weapons, a few of them you can buy from merchants. So instead of using your tech points on these items, go ahead and just buy the item, and then you can just repair it after, which saves you a few tech points, and you can use those for other things. Or you can actually probably have one of your friends make the item itself, and then you can just repair it after. Number 8, right now in the early access Palworld, Liffmunk effigies are supposed to increase your capture power, but there is some testing that showed it did the opposite. The more Liffmunk effigies you get, the harder it is to catch things. I am positive this will be patched out later on, just be wary of it right now. Number 9, merchants in the game are capturable. They will respawn if you catch them almost immediately, but then you can use them in base and buy what you need. So capture those merchants and only get like 1 or 2. The PAL box doesn't hold very many PALs. Number 10. So fire is arguably the best element in the game because it takes out both ice and grass. It is the only element in the game that takes out 2. So that being said, the ragnahawk allows you to change your element to fire when you are on it, but through some recent data mining about maybe 30 days ago, it showed that it also increases your firepower by 50% while you're mounted on one of these pals. So you can use the fire type to defeat Lily, which is the second tower boss, to gain more experience for your pals. And throughout most of the game, you're fighting ice types and grass types until you get to like to the fire and desert area. But most of the time, you're fighting fire and ice. So getting a fire or getting ragnahawk is just invaluable. So this game is all about efficiency and how you're going to spend less time crafting things to do what you want to do and go out into the world. So build your base on an ore farm and a coal farm. There's an area in 190, -40, and this place has both ore and coal, and it is high above the flatland around, so even if you have raids on, the raids will not reach you. So it's a great starting area. I wouldn't say you started as like your first base, but whenever you get a flyer and you're able to get there, make it as your second, and it becomes a lot more efficient for you. Number 12. So ultimately, nails are still the thing to sell. For 1 ingot, you get 320 gold. If you just sell an ingot, you sell it for 20 gold. I still feel like this is not intended, and maybe it will stay the same, but overall, there is nothing more profitable than sitting in your base and making that much money. So I used to go out and farm pals for their materials. I used to get like the high fats, the electric organs, the fire organs. I would just go and kill everything and just farm it, come back. But it is just so much faster to just go collect the ore, make the nails, and then sell the nails to buy these items from the merchants. So going on to number 13. Speaking about merchants, there is about 30 of them hanging around in the game, but the ones you will make use of most of the time are going to be in order. The small settlement area, probably the first one you're going to reach. The Fisherman's Point, which is going to be the second one you're going to reach, because you should go see him second, because he has heat gear, he has a heat shirt, and then you can just buy like the heat pelt gear. And then after that, you can use that heat pelt gear to go into the fire areas. Most importantly, you're going to want to go to the top right SandDunes area to reach the other merchants, which are all together, and you're going to want to get that save point so you can get there quickly. So you can reach the Pal merchant, the black marketeer, the green merchant, and red merchant. So in that order, you do like that triangle: the small settlement, the Fisherman's Point, and then the SandDunes. And all of these, like, now you can buy everything that you would possibly need with the nails that you're going to make. But there is a few things that they won't sell you, and the biggest one being Palfluid. So going on to number 14. So the thing that you cannot buy from merchants, of course, is going to be mining materials like coal, ore, but Palfluid. Palfluid is a late game material that you need for cement and other things. The best pal to farm this fluid will be Orserk, because he has an ability that states that your water pals will drop more items when they die, as long as he is fighting with you. But he's level 43, and he's going to be in one of the most inaccessible areas of the map, which is top right. But you can actually get him by level 19 with breeding. So let's go on to breeding. So on to 15. You should at least start incubating right when you get it. Like the moment you can incubate, you get like 10 incubators and just get all the eggs you can get. You would just literally fly through the game and you just start hatching all the eggs that you get. Okay, now on to 16. Okay, so now we're past incubating. Now we're talking about breeding. Breeding is unlocked at level 19. Like I said before, this game is all about making your base efficient, and pals are the exception. You can get Anubis, Orserk, Phalaris, Jormuntide, Lyleen, Wumpo really early on, but you'll need to capture a Grizzbolt, a Penking, a Petallia, and a mossanda, along with a relaxaurus to make all this happen, which are relatively like level 20 to capture. So right now in the early access, you can get Grizzbolt at level 19, Penking at level 19, and Petallia at level 19 at the #1 island at the bottom of the map. So going on to 17, there are breeding calculators all over the internet, and some are better than others. I really love this one, the palworldtrainer.com/breed calculator. It's the ease of use is so simple. You just put in one that you want to see, and it'll show you how it will make another pal or what pals will make it. So it's super simple, super quickly and easy to use. Love using it. So when you use this, you figure out like the easiest combinations that you need. From incubation and random pals, I've been able to get things like Blahable knocked super early in the game before even getting breeding unlocked, and then using like the Blahable knocked to make something this random that I was like, oh, I couldn't have made that before if I just didn't start incubating earlier. So the pals that you want as early as possible to get your base going are basically all the level 4 skills. So we got Jormuntide, which is the level 4 watering of the game. We got Jormuntide Ignis, which is the level 4 kindling of the game. We got Anubis, which is one of the best, probably maybe could be called the best pal in the game. Anubis is level 4 handiwork. Lyleen is the level 4 gardener. And then Wumpo is a level 4 transporter, but he also has level 3 logging, which isn't bad. Orserk is the level 4 electric, but electric you don't really use until like later on. Orserk is mainly used more for, well, I guess for his electric, but for the water pal farming. There's a level 4 miner, and that's Blasmet, but you don't really technically need that. He's really late game. And then Frostallion is the level 4 freezing, and she's used for your fridge and stuff. But Frostallion is super late game. It's level 50. You need to get everything for her to get her anyway. So that can take time. The last one is level 4 gardening. And level 4 gardening is going to be Frostallion knocked, which you have to breed to get Frostallion knocked. And you have to get a Frostallion first. So you're not getting gathering 4 until way later on. So just start off with those other ones. So number 19. Let's go ahead and start going with the breedings. There's a ton of them here, which is super nice. And once you get these, it makes your experience so much better. So Anubis can be made with Grizzbolt and a capturable. So as long as you got the Grizzbolt, you can make Anubis right away. I don't really know how that works, but whatever. You get a Grizzbolt and a capturable, and then bam, you get a goat god. So on to number 20. With your Anubis that you made from the Grizzbolt and the capturable, you can now make a ragnahawk, which is a level 43 capture, but you can now just breed it with Grizzbolt. You can also get a Vanworm and breed it with Anubis to get one of the fastest flying mounts in the game, before Jet Dragon, which is Phalaris. Phalaris is faster than Ragnahawk, but Ragnahawk has a better seated ability, and the seat can be made at level 37. So around like the level 37, you can get like the level 43s to 50s of the game. Going on to 21. 21 is Grizzbolt can be breeded with Nitewing to get Jormuntide. And then the next thing, 22, Penking can be breeded with sweepa to make a wumpo. And then 23, Grizzbolt can be breeded with relaxaurus to make Orserk. 24, you can use Orserk to make a wumpo botan if you breed it with Dinossom. Alright, so going on to 25 now. Another reason to get a bunch of Wumpos is because they have the ability to give you 120 more weight to carry you around. But you can't get that saddle until level 44. So till then, you can use King Paka, which is the King Paka saddle, which is a lot more accessible early on. One thing that I did not know, I don't know what was going through my mind, but the buff does stack. So you can have multiple King Pakas, you can have like 5 King Pakas, and then you'll have 500 more weight in your party. Just know that if you try to condense these King Pakas, they only go up by 10 for every single level, so don't try too hard for that until later on. So going on to 26, we're going to talk about Lyleen. Lyleen is the level 4 gardener. She is a little bit weirder to make because she requires Petallia, and Petallia is only at the level 1 place, the same exact place that you got Grizzbolt. So it's nothing too much or anything, but you're still going to want to stick around to get Petallia. She'll be level 19, it's not going to be too hard. Then Petallia and Mossanda go together and make Lyleen. So it takes a little longer, you know, you have to go through that to get the different Petallia, but even on its own, Petallia is like level 3 gardening, not bad at all. Alright, so let's talk about 27 and Jormuntide ignis. This is not a breeding one because you cannot breed Jormuntide ignis. You can only capture or hatch it from an egg. So there are areas, and I think it's number 2 island on the left side that you can get some ignises, but they're like high level. They're 40s, 43, so you won't be able to capture that one until later on. But there are a few areas in the fireplace that have huge dragon eggs, and huge dragon eggs are extremely rare. But if you really want that level 4 kindling, you're gonna have to kind of fly around until you find these huge dragon eggs. I actually recommend not going after them because they can take hours. They can take like 1 to 3 hours, maybe 4. It depends how lucky you are. Huge dragon eggs are hard to find. But if you want them, they're like somewhere in these areas. So talking about breeding, cakes are kind of hard to make, especially early on. They take honey, eggs, milk, flour, and berries. Eggs and milk come from Mozzarina and Chicken though. And bee guards are the ones that make honey. Everyone knows this. But later on, I first started realizing that like, when I'm trying to make like mass amounts of cakes, Mozzarina and chickpea really don't make enough eggs or milk. They take a long time, so you're gonna need like a ton at the same time. Of course, you could condense them, but that takes forever. So what I actually just go and I buy it. You can buy like 999 for nothing. So I just start buying your milk and eggs and have your bee guards instead, or have whichever one. But I still feel like going out and buying the milk and eggs is just so much easier than trying to like have a farm that makes them. So going on to 29, talking about farms, you can stack your gardens almost infinitely if you find a way to do it, but you just got to use your furniture to help out with the space. You'll put something on the ground, then put a garden on top, and then put something else there that's a little lower than the last one, and put that on top. I feel like there's probably a way to do like a 5-10 stack, but I feel like 4 is probably the best that you probably should do. I think that's like the max of what you should be doing. But this really helps out with space. The gardens can be huge and just kind of fill up a whole entire flat area, and you just don't want that. You would like for them to be this neat and tidy. So going on to number 30, we're talking about the condenser. And the condenser is a late game building, so you can use it early on if you would like. You know, rank 1, rank 2, you're only going to need like what I think it's 4 pals and then 16 pals to make it rank 2. But if you want to make it rank 5, you're going to need it to have 116 more pals to make that rank 5. It takes a very long time to make that rank 5. So one of the things that you should understand, because I didn't really understand at first, is you will upgrade your pal stats, like your attack, your defense, your I think speed, but more importantly, you're going to be upgrading your trainer skill, and the trainer skill is the thing that I didn't understand. So let's go into 31 with that. So going on to 31, okay, a big thing is that upgrading your pal does not make it work in base faster. The only thing that makes it work faster is giving it good traits like serious, artisan, and like work slave. So the only thing that really makes your pal work better in base is that once they reach rank 5, they will go up 1 stat and every work suitability. So you can actually have like a level 5 watering with a rank 5 Jormuntide if you have it, yeah, rank 5. Going on to 32, going off subject a bit from the condenser, you still want to get the 10 pals of each. That's still a given, but there is areas around that you should look for the syndicate or the free pal allowance that have free pals lying in cages in the early game, and then you should go around and trying to find these. There is 2 different types of cages, which I didn't know about before, and the 2 types of cages are going to be like small pals and then medium pals. So they actually will have different ones. I found like a mossanda lux in the medium pal one, and the medium pal one will have a Lyleen statue right next to it, which indicates that it's a higher level cage. Going on to number 3. All right, back to the condenser. If you want to know specifically what you are ranking up when you condense PAL, there is a Reddit post that shows you the hidden values and buffs of the condenser. So no longer will you try to upgrade a King Paka that hoping the weight goes up by 50 and it only goes up by 10. So going on to 34, there is also hidden values that the data mine Blahable put in, and it shows that if you are mounted on a mount that gives you elemental buffs, you will also receive the 50% increase at its base, which is further upped by condensing, and it can go up to 100%. It's just crazy. It's something that, like, even though you know what the PAL does, the hidden stats within this Reddit post will show you that it can do literally double. So going on to 35, this is something I honestly felt really dumb about, but there are passive traits. So traits like Vanguard, Motivational Leader, Stronghold Strategist, Mine Foreman, and Logging Foreman are all traits that your pals just need to be in your party to activate. So speaking about that, the strongest builds for Palworld arguably are going to be you mounted on one of the pals with the 100% increase to your elemental damage, with 4 Gobfins in your slots that all have Vanguard to get, 40% more damage. So you're going to have the 100% more damage with 40% more damage, and the Gobfin's ability states that it gives you more damage, and if you up the rank, you get 20% more damage on all the Gobfins. So what is that? That's like 30, 60, 90, 120% more damage plus Vanguard, which is going to be 10% each, so that's going to be 160, and then you get the 100% damage from your whatever you're mounted on. So like you can kind of say 260% more damage. That's not the way it works, but you're going to have a ton of damage. And then speaking about that, now that you have condensed and have that condensing knowledge, let's go to 37. So late game, you can get 4 Wumpos, and 4 Wumpos, well, a Wumpo is going to give you 120 more weight. And if you condense all the Wumpos, which is going to be a long time anyway, but you can get 160 weight per Wumpo. And if you don't have the late game, like, Astagon or Mamoris, whatever you want to use to destroy ore, if you have these weight increasing pals with Mining Foreman, you can break an ore really quickly and carry more ore. So it's just a nice thing to have. All right, so going on to 38. Speaking about breaking things and mining, Digtoise is arguably the best pal in the game because of how much it helps you mine throughout the game. But he actually really sucks at mining in your base. He eats a lot of food for what he does. He actually doesn't do crap to an ore at all. So you really don't want to use him in your base. He looks like he's doing a lot because of all the numbers that are spinning around when he's spinning, but it does so much less than like an Anubis. So if you're able to, since you got the Grizzbolts, you can just kind of spam a bunch of Anubises. Having 5 Anubises versus having 5 Digtoises, you're going to get so much more. So going on to 39, since we were talking about bases, I still value making your base on flat land. So Palworld has noted the issue that your pals will get stuck and fall over edges and just overall. So they tried to make the AI better so that they don't get as stuck, but it still happens, and it still happens a lot more if your base is on flat land. So just try to make sure that you still stick to flat land. So going on to 40, your base is limited when it comes to space, but that's only circumferentially. If you want to build a base taller and taller and taller, you can actually reach about 20 walls high. And that would be about, what is that? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, like 5 to 6 tiers of 3 spaces. So going on to 41. Speaking about going really high up, if you have a base that is 2 walls high, your Jormuntides and Flyers are going to get super stuck all the time. So make sure that your base is at least 3 walls high, and then every single time you make another tier, you make another tier of 3 walls high. And 3 walls high is just the way to go. Things don't get as stuck. It's a lot simpler. So going on to 42. So when you're base building, the blue that encompasses the blaze, oh my gosh, the blue base, the blaze. If the blue is at least halfway on whatever you're building, it will not degrade. So if you have a wall that is outside the blue, but the foundation is within the blue, the wall will not degrade. This is something that took me forever to figure out, and I was kind of sad a few times where my stuff just kind of disappeared. But as long as like the foundation is more than halfway in, the wall that is completely outside will not degrade. Going on to 43. You can build your PAL box on a rooftop. It's just really finicky. You kind of have to play with it. So before you build your PAL box, just check around to make sure your blue is good to go and not obstructed by anything. And then choose where you're going to put it and try to see if you can put it in the exact spot on like 1 or 3 tiers higher. Going on to 44. So if you want to build in areas that are hard to reach for your enemies, like the cold or the hot lands, you're going to first build on flatland, and then make sure you have a foundation underneath you and a rooftop over your head to bring down the weather effect. Some places are actually colder or hotter than others, so you may still need clothing to dissipate this cold or hot effect, especially at nights. I think the cold area is harder to live in because the nighttime will like double the cold. So even if you're wearing clothing and you have the cold thermal shard on, you will still feel cold even if you're inside with a rooftop and a foundation underneath you. Then going into 45, because I built my base in the cold area, I realized that like putting more than 1 campfire does not stack. Putting more than 1 heater does not stack. And what you can do to raise the heat of an area is to put like a campfire, a heater, and then like an electric heater. They're all 3 different things that increase by like 1 or 2, but having more than 1 doesn't actually increase the area's heat. Going on to 46. So when you start getting to endgame bosses like Frostallion, Jetragon, Blasmid, Astagon, Anubis will have defenses that you only do 1 damage to. So you will have to prepare yourself with a bunch of 1s damage to get these pals. Jetragon is one of the easiest to just watch out for. His multi-beam attack, which can be blocked by walls, but basically you're going to want to have a lot of attacks that do like 1-1-1, which the shotgun is really good for. So going on to 47. So speaking about abilities, there are 17 skill fruit trees in the game. Some are really accessible and others are not. And the ones that are not, like the ones in the desert, the fire and ice areas, they say that these give you more rare skills. But from what I've seen, you can get any skill from any tree. It probably just spawns more on those harder to get trees. So you will want these abilities all throughout the game. So you're going to want like Pal Laser, Dark Laser, Hollow Purple, Lightning Strike. I would say try to farm these as soon as you can because they take about 5-6 hours to respawn. And if you can just get to these ones that are really accessible, you can just start doing it early. So going on to 48. So the butcher knife is something I truly think was fun at first, and one of the reasons why I started playing the game is because when I started butchering, or started seeing the butcher of the mercenaries. But it really is somewhat useless until later on. The best use for the butcher knife is the bosses that you capture. You can get a second chance at schematics and double the ancient civilization parts that you get from them. So if you fight like any boss, for example, like Azaro, Penking, Astagon, Jetragon, and then you butcher them, you have a chance to get like any schematic. And even from Azaro, I got a legendary handgun, which she's a level 17. Like I don't even think you can make a handgun until like 30. But be careful right now. The butcher knife is a little buggy. Sometimes your parts will just fall out of the sky and you'll have to go looking for them. So try to do it during the day. Going on to 49. The best glider in the game is Gale Claw. When you first get this, you may never go back. I didn't start using Gale Claw until like way later on, but I feel like in a PvP server or whenever you're trying to dodge something, Gale Claw is probably going to be the best pal to fight it with. It's really easy to get early on, and I feel like it's like an unfair advantage to anybody who doesn't have one. It actually also gets faster with condensing, so the more you condense it, the faster the Gale Claw will fly, but it does not get faster with the skills. So it does not get faster with Swift or traits that make it go faster, like Legendary, Swift, what is the other one? Nimble, and then Runner. So going on the 50, the tower bosses are the end-all, be-all of the game. They go in order, from Zoe to Lyleen to Axel to Marcus to Victor. So getting the appropriate elements to fight them is essential. You're going to need something to not 1-1-1 them. I think, like, for sure, like, Victor and Marcus are two of the ones where you can't do low damage because they have so much health and you have 10 minutes to kill them. And one of the funnest things I feel like about these boss fights, this is like one of the biggest reasons why we like kept on playing the game, was because you can invite 3 other friends to play with you to fight the boss. So you can have up to 4 players going against the boss at the same time. And this is my last and final tip. I know that sometimes you want to play a game because it's super fun and you want to get ahead and it's a great time and you want to just really like showboat it, but play with your friends, man. When you play this game with your friends, it's fighting enemies that are 20, 30 levels higher than you together. It is the funnest time. When you're fighting a boss together for the first time or second time and everyone's screaming, it's probably the reason why I had so much fun. And then like looking forward to fighting that next boss with your friends was like the main reason why I kept on playing the game. Once we beat Victor and got every single boss in the game and started maintenancing, which really is just like getting more ore to make more buildings and more bases, it started to die off and there's not much else to do anymore after these bosses are taken over. So now that I fight these bosses on my own and kill them over and over and over again, it just doesn't have what it had before when me and them fought together. So overall, like, don't get ahead of everybody. Play with your friends. So this marks my time with Palworld. I'm going to probably wait for the next update or whenever it becomes alpha or whatever. Burnt myself out like I always do, but it was a great time with friends. I would give this game a 10 out of 10. We'll always come back to it. But that's everything I have. Hope you all have a great day and see y'all around. Laters.
No, my fucking mouth.
Oh no, bro.
Who? Aww.
I guess
So it's the one without the tag. That's all it is. That's all you have to look for.
Yeah.
The one without the tag. That made it a lot easier now.
Yeah.
He's on fire!
Alright, we're almost 600 away, 500 away.
Shit.
I'm pulling pull off. Alright, we're at 500. Start throwing. Ralph. I got you. Ralph, just catch him. Catch him, Ralph.
Go.
Come on, girl.
Yes!
Come on, girl.
The double!
Come on, girl. Come on, girl.
No, it doesn't tell me.
Look at it. Please be a Famali.
I gotta go check.
Let's go.
I was able
Shadow B gang
to
out.
apply